Welcome back to Series 2. Can't believe I'm saying it.
Me neither.
Can't believe they recommissioned this. Series 2 of I'm Okay Though.
Yeah.
A podcast about mental health, therapy, well-being, all the good things.
All the good things.
With myself, Owen Cutts. I'm a songwriter, producer. And with yourself...
Myself, Jodie Cariss, therapist, founder of Self Space and coach. I am actually amazed. Look, I wanted to say I'm amazed we're here for season 2, but I'm also kind of not.
True.
I think there is something quite everyday about us.
Yeah.
And just sort of wanging on about nothing and everything, ultimately.
Yeah. I guess that's sort of like our mission, really, isn't it? Is to sort of like make sure that there's a voice out there that is sort of normalizing having mental health issues, going to therapy, not quite feeling
100%.
100%, not quite feeling like you're where you should be. Just tackling everyday issues that people might be having in silence.
Totally. And I think there is something really, I mean, I don't know about you, but when I feel lonely or kind of a bit lost, I really gravitate towards people also talking about the similar things that I'm going through.
Yeah.
And I think there is something quite grounding about it. And so when I listen back to the pods, as well as sort of cringing in the corner, blushing, I also kind of really resonated with our material. Like, oh yeah, of course, I remember that. I was going through that, or I really get that. And so I think there's something about that in what we're talking about, don't you?
Yeah, definitely. I often can't quite remember what I've said, and then people say, "Oh, you were talking about this on the pod," and I was like, "Oh shit, what did I say in that episode? I can't quite remember."
There's quite a lot of people who has suddenly come out of the woodwork asking about Owen Cutts.
No way.
Yeah, I think you've got quite a big fan group out there. Quite a few women asking about Owen Cutts. I'm in love with Owen Cutts. You don't actually know him.
That's not true.
Oh, it is.
That's
so
not
true.
true.
Oh my goodness, you should have seen my inbox.
I'm going red. Am I going red?
You are going red. And that's what I really love about you, is this idea that really. And so there you go. There's a bonus there to the pod, which is that you've got an enormous fan club out there, Owen Cutts.
I would. The thing is, though, do you know what I'd say to that is, because of my job and because I've done a podcast before, but we record them in these rooms, right?
Yeah.
And I record songs in studios, and they often don't have windows, and it's a very sort of cut off experience, isolated experience that I've struggled to picture it being released, being out there, people listening to it. I have it with songs, I have it with podcasts. I'm like,
is that because the environment you create for that stuff is quite intimate with the group of people you're with?
I think so.
So the idea that crosses over, or the idea that other people might have an opinion or a view on you, or resonate with you, or feel connected to you, is probably quite disjointed from the experience of what's happening.
Yeah, definitely. And the environment you do it in is often very... It's often like a closed circuit.
Yeah.
So it's just like you write a song in a day with someone that you get really close with really quickly, and then it's not like that song comes out the next day.
Yeah, it can be months.
It can be months or years before it comes out, and then it comes out, and then you're sort of like, I mean, I always do a little post about it, but after that post, I genuinely move on a little bit. I do check the numbers, see how it's doing. In the first few weeks, there's a few things I check to see how it's been received.
Yeah.
But then I
forget about it.
Then I forget about it, and I think that's why that would shock me a little bit, that people would be sort of...
People would have fallen in love with you.
No. I strongly don't think that's happening.
I strongly disagree.
I strongly disagree.
But I think there's, today's episode is really kind of. In fact, I don't even know how to say it. That's how much we're resonating with the theme, which is none of us really know what we're doing.
No.
And I wonder if there's a bit of that in what you're talking about, which is I also have that. Like when I read, I do quite a lot of kind of press stuff around mental health.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll read something and I'll be like, oh, that's good. And then I'll be like, oh, I said that.
Really?
And there's something, I think, I wonder if there is something in that, which is we're kind of quite immediate. Like I think we were talking about this pod, right? And this idea that we're kind of blundering into the second season, not really knowing what we're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that isn't unique to you and I.
No, I don't think it's unique to you and I, but I don't think it's unique to, how do I say this? I think it's quite a unique way of doing things.
Way of approaching.
Yeah, and I think it's like I'd rather blunder into something because that's realistic. I'd rather like do a podcast where the first episode of series 2 is us being like, we don't quite know what we're doing, because I think that's quite realistic.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite like, I never really want to be a part of something that's kind of like shiny and glossy and rehearsed.
Because it's not truthful. It's not how we really are as humans, right?
Like if I rehearse what I've said 4 or 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, then I come in and I say it, I don't feel like that's really what I mean anymore. I won't say it how I mean it. So
yeah, it loses the feeling, maybe, the attachment to the feeling.
Yeah.
But do you think, because I think this is a big theme, this idea that we believe that other people really do know what they're doing and they've got their shit together.
That, I think,
is, and I wonder if because I know that's an enormous contributor to poor mental health, actually. This idea, and we talked a bit about it in season 1, but this idea that we're not as good as other people, or we're minimized, or we're kind of, we lose our confidence. And I wonder if you notice that quite a lot in your industry, this idea that other people seem to know what they're doing. And I don't think you don't know what you're doing.
No.
I think you do, but maybe it's about something about the realistic approach to how we arrive in the present, as opposed to feeling distracted about where we're not getting to, or how we're underdeveloping or delivering, or whatever you want to say.
Well, what I think is, I always say that my job moves very quickly. So in my job, you can be like on top of the world and you can be the most talked about thing, and then suddenly something happens, or like maybe a few weeks go past, and then it's on to someone else is being talked about, or something new's happened, or a record that you did 2 weeks ago doesn't matter because that artist released something new out of the blue. And I always feel like I don't have enough time to enjoy the wins because I'm chasing the next win.
Yeah.
And I actually think that that's not job specific. I think I say it's my job. I think it's like, oh yeah, my industry moves so quickly that, but I actually just think that's life.
That everything's kind of moving fast.
I think life moves so fast that you don't get the opportunities to enjoy the good times, enjoy the wins.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're chasing again. And chasing is a horrible feeling.
Yeah, because then you're constantly out of breath. You're never very present. I think there's something about being present. And we did have a kind of loose plan on a scrap of paper. And one of those things we were going to kind of talk about was what's real for you right now, kind of what's happening for you in terms of mental health and how you're doing. And I wonder if that's I wonder if that's quite present for you, because you mentioned
very present. Yeah, I felt very like I'm chasing, like I'm back in the race, like I'm like, I don't know. It's this ascendance, right? So Jordan, my friend Jordan Stevens, he's such an amazing guy, and like he speaks at 100 miles an hour, and you kind of like have to sort of like glean what you can. Do you know what I mean, from what he's saying? But once he said to me that humans are like addicted to the ascendance. So like the journey up is what we love. When we actually get there, we don't. It's like an anticlimax.
We don't
appreciate it. We're not there for long enough because we want that kind of like buzz of the ascendance again.
Yeah.
So we want to ascend again. So it's just like if you, I mean, I don't know how to say it in a sort of like normal life way, but in like a work way for me, it would be like you release a song. No, so you write a record, you're really excited about it. The label say they're going to put it out. So then the ascendance starts. Let's get this record ready. You know, everyone's excited about, you know, it hasn't come out yet. So you're in that sort of like pre-bubble of like being like, oh, everyone loves it. It's been chosen to be the
really
single.
Validate? Do you feel particularly confident?
You feel amazing. Yeah, you feel amazing at that point. You're just like, oh, I've smashed it. I've got, you know. I don't really like see myself in a pool of. I should probably, but I don't really see myself in the reality of the fact that I am competing against hundreds of other producers trying to get a record away on the same album. I've never managed to see myself that way, but I do like it obviously when a song that I've done gets picked to be on a record or to be put out. And there begins the ascendance, you know. So you're like, oh, your song's been chosen. Then you sort of like go through the mix process, getting it right, and everyone's going back and forth on emails and giving pointers. Then a release date gets made, and then all the social media thing starts to happen, and you're like, oh, this is coming out. And then as soon as it comes out, it's like a massive anticlimax.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh, you know, no matter how it does, like if it does amazing or if it doesn't do whatever, it's because then you want it to chart. Okay, it's out. Let's see how it does in the chart. So then you've got a week of like, oh, let's see how it does, and then it chart, and then on the Friday it will chart, and then you're like, oh, I want it to go gold, or I want it to go platinum. I want it to. Do you see what I mean?
Keep pushing. But how do you find yourself in that then? If you're thinking about how that contributes to your mental health, because it's curious, isn't it, around this idea that the things that propel us forward, that's an external factor, right? So you have no control over that. If you connect your sense of self or your confidence to what happens in the world outside of you, you put yourself in an incredibly vulnerable position. And we all do it. It's human. It's like, yeah, that's high. Look how many likes I've got, or this is going well, contributes to a feeling of feeling good. But then when you hit, after, the word I keep thinking when you say ascending is a depression, or the next thing, the drop, the kind of low.
Yeah.
And so then you're very vulnerable to the outside world as opposed to what's happening within you. Yeah. And I wonder if you feel that, like the kind of emotional roller coaster of it, which isn't just what's happening outside, but it's what's happening within you.
Yeah. And the way I usually sort of like deal with it is I recently tried to like set my own scale of success. So if I set a sort of like achievable goal for something, and then if that goal is achieved, then for me it's a success, then I can't be told by anyone else that that is a success or a failure.
So is the success then about the thing that you achieve outside, or how you feel about the thing?
It's how I feel about the thing, because I have to remind myself that I make music for a living, and that was always the dream, you know, like even if it was like £5 an hour or minimum wage or whatever, like I was always happy with the fact that I make music. Like, that's insane. Like, how can I be paying the bills off music? You know, it's amazing. So there's a lot of that. It's a lot of sort of like, I've got a friend called Fred Cox, amazing producer, like one of the most talented people I know, and he sort of really changed it around for me. He came to my studio, and as soon as he got there, he said, "Oh no, he looked at his phone and he was like, I'm double booked. I'm meant to be in East London. My studio is in West London." He said, "I'm meant to be in East London today." And I was like, dude, if you've got to go to East London, go to. He's like, it's fine. We work together all the time. It's fine. Don't worry. And he was like, he was like, let me check the setup of the session in East London. So he went off and he came back and he was like, oh, well, the artist's there already and there's a producer there already. And he's a producer and songwriter. So he was like, so like me not being there isn't like affect, they can still make a song and I'm here now. And like, maybe we should just do the day here. And I was like, look, dude, whatever. If you need to go, go. If you want to stay, wicked. And then he said, yeah, I think I'm going to stay here. And he said, but I really hope they make a number one. It just won't be with me. And then he went and played the piano and went off and went. He didn't really think about what he'd said. But I was just like so dumbstruck by that way of thinking and that thought process of like, I really hope they write a number one. It just won't be with me.
Mm.
And that was like, that changed a lot for me, that sentence, because I think you can kind of like secretly, you can, social media obviously plays a massive part into this, because you can actually watch now other people succeed, other people doing what they're doing, or other people, whether it's true or false, you can watch it. And I think what he was basically saying was like, when you see people in a situation that you feel like you should be in, he wants them to succeed, like regardless of whether he's there or not. And I just thought that was such a sort of like beautiful way of looking at it. Like,
and maybe that kind of, I guess I'm just thinking about pulling it back to this idea of mental health and how we think about our feelings. There's something about the letting go in there, isn't there? Which is this idea that there's something really soft about that, which doesn't make you brittle to the world and to everything that's happening, which is, how do we not just join what we imagine should be said, which is, oh, I hope they're successful, but really inside we're kind of dying, or it's really painful. But there's something about, how do we arrive at a spot which means that we have not only an abundance for ourselves, but we're able to generously give. And I think there is something about this idea that you're talking about in what's going on for you, which is, what does validation actually mean? And what does, what do we need to, what does it mean to have enough to be able to give over? And I was thinking, what's going on for me? And I'm in the middle of selling my house, which has been like 16 years in the process. And, there's a deep amount of letting go in that, and a bit of heartbreak in what that has symbolized for me. Yeah. But how do I let go with grace, as opposed to holding on in a way that's going to rob me of my own joy, or my own sense of self, my own validation? Mm-hmm. And it isn't an easy place to come to, right? No. It's a kind of edge, which is, this is really painful, and I want to be able to hold on, but I also need to be able to let go.
So this is the house that you raised your kids in?
A house I raised my kids in, that I had with my ex-husband, that we've kept hold of, and it's meant quite a lot, and it's quite present for me at the moment. And I kind of, the idea of, I need to be able to pay respect to what's been, and really know with deeply that that's meant a lot, but also step into the newness of whatever else is happening. And I think there's something in what you're saying, which is around, I took quite a lot of validation from the idea of my marriage and my children and my home and the thing that I created. And I think there is something in everything we do about, how do we give that enough respect, but also be able to let it go when we need to. And I wonder if there's something about that in what you're saying too, which is the letting go of that record that he's now not going to be involved in.
I was just thinking, when you were speaking then, of like, do you think there's a part of you selling the house and you in it going that kind of like speaks to the side of us that thinks that like having a house and a family and everything is like, oh, that's a person that's got it all together.
They know what they're doing.
And then now that house is being sold,
what does that mean? How does it destabilize us? And for me, there was, when I grew up in my family, there was a lack of money kind of across the board, and having a house was something that other people did, and it wasn't something my family really did until now, actually. And my mum says that while other children were kind of writing lists of Tamagotchis that they wanted, I had a list of M&S products that I wanted for my house, which include things like beige bath towels and ironed bedspreads and stuff. And it wasn't because I didn't have anything, but that's what I had. Like in all my notebooks, I had lists for my house.
Wow.
So it meant a lot. It was kind of a symbol of security for me. And I bought my first house when I was 19.
Wow.
Yeah, like, I mean, they were giving houses in Hackney away at that time, to be fair.
Right.
But it meant it somehow symbolised everything that I hadn't, the security that I didn't have. So I loaded quite a lot onto it.
Yeah.
And it looked to me like people that knew what they were doing, that's what they had.
They had ironed bedspreads.
So there's something quite powerful in me letting it go, actually, because it's not just about the house. It's also about, that's not where I find my security now, although I really do love houses and things like that.
Yeah.
But I'm able to let it go. I'm not holding on in a way that I was before.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really good observation. And kind of linking it to the theme we're talking about. I wonder, I think a lot of people think that success is based on what other people are doing or what the trajectory of what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And I think really we're all just muddling through, don't you?
Yeah. Because some of the most successul people I know are some of the unhappiest.
Yeah, so true. And what is success anyway?
Yeah.
How do we think about what success is for us?
But what is this part of our brains that thinks that other people have it all wrapped up and they've got it together and we don't? Because I'm sure doesn't everyone think that? I mean, I've not come across a person in my life that in their private moments has said to me, do you know what?
I'm nailing this.
I'm absolutely
killing it out
nailing
here.
this. I can't believe it.
I'm so amazing.
Every part of my life is completely together. I've never heard that.
And if they did, we might be saying, "Are you okay?"
Okay,
though?
mate. Yeah. Oh, all right. I'll have you.
I mean,
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah, because I think we are all fragile beings. Look, I've had thousands of hours in the therapy room, like for myself and with clients at their most vulnerable, and deep down, we're all really unsure. We're all really uncertain. The only thing we know is that we're going to die, and I don't mean to say that in a kind of morbid way.
Yeah.
And this idea of what do we take to shore ourselves up for this life?
Yeah.
There is, and you see people kind of grasping things like, money, houses, jobs, likes on social media. These are the things we need to kind of shore ourselves up, or we think we do, in order to live. And I also think like a bit of envy is healthy.
Do you?
I do.
Explain.
I think envy, or look, you go envy kind of at the amplified emotion, down closer, it's jealousy.
Okay, I was just about to ask, what's your
where do we go?
Well, envy and jealousy, what's the difference? Well,
they are a little bit different, but the way I understand it is if you imagine your emotions on a kind of wheel with you at the center.
Okay, I like this.
So you're at the center, then we amplify the emotions out. So imagine on the outside ring would be envy, which is like a bigger, broader sense of something, which might be, that dude over there in that £20 million house, and I'm envious of it, but I'm not envious of it in a way that it really causes me pain.
So the outer circle it gets less as it goes out.
It gets less personal, let's just say.
Yes.
So
okay, that makes sense.
So then it brings it closer, which is jealousy, which can be an incredibly difficult thing to manage, which might be closer to you, like I'm jealous of a friend of mine who's doing the thing that I can't quite do. Then we go closer to ourselves, and what we actually have is an indicator that we're not meeting our potential.
Right.
Something, as opposed to what do they have that I don't. It's what am I not able to actualize in myself.
Interesting.
And that is incredibly painful, because that is something we can do something about.
Yeah.
And most of us don't want to be able to do that.
And what is that?
whatever it might be for you, which is, it might not be as broad as how we can get fixed on how am I going to be out there in the outer circle and the thing I'm envious about, and I'm going to focus all my energy over there, but I'm probably never going to get there.
Yeah.
Whereas actually this small thing, which might be, you know, I really need to say something that I'm not saying, or I really need to I don't know, work on my physical health, or I really need to spend some time wondering about myself and what I need to thrive or feel better. That's so in our control.
Yeah.
But we'd rather be out here envious of something we can't reach, and feeling like paralyzed by it, because somehow we're reassured by the fact we're never going to get there anyway. It's easier to go, well, I'm never going to get there. And that's okay, because not many people do.
Right.
Rather than this thing I can control, which is really within me. That, knowing that I'm not doing something about that, now that's really fucking painful.
Wow.
That's how I understand it anyway.
Yeah. And there's that, I mean, I guess that can be sort of, can you, as a therapist, can you identify that in a client before they can?
Sometimes, and I know, you know, I've had a client before who was really, really fixed on, and I'm saying this without kind of breaking confidentiality because I wrote about it in the book.
Yeah.
But you know, politically, she was really fixated with what was not happening politically, because it was much easier for her to bear her distress over there and rage and upset than actually to look at what was not working for herself.
Interesting.
Internally. So we often kind of project these things out into the world.
Yeah.
But I guess when I say that jealousy can be really healthy, I think if we can look at it and internalize it as something,
as like a little
indicator,
engine or oil light has come on.
Exactly that. And I've become really adept at, you know, we're talking about kind of what's real for you. And, you know, in this letting go of the house thing, I noticed that I sort of was, as I was selling my house, I start over here fantasizing on Instagram about, these houses and these people doing that. Oh, that's causing me a bit of pain. Okay, what do I need to restabilize myself right now?
Yeah.
So that I can use that information to kind of come back closer to myself and go, okay, I probably need to draw my friends closer, or I need to be surrounding myself with some things that nurture me. What are you jealous? Do you get jealous or envious? I wonder.
Do I get jealous? Yeah, I don't really get jealous. I'm not really a very jealous kind of person. I have this thing where I'm like, do I want what you have? Yes. Do I wish that you'd never had it? No. Does that make sense?
So yeah, you don't want to wish anyone else you don't want to rob someone else.
No, not at all.
Their joy,
I'm so, when my friends win or when someone I know does well, I'm so happy for them because it feels like a win for all of us.
Yeah.
Because like, wow, like in this weird short little life, you did that. That's so cool.
Yeah.
You know, would I like to do that as well? Yeah. But not at the expense of them not doing it. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know what that is. Is that envy? Maybe. It's not jealousy, because I feel like jealousy has that forked tongued side of it where you're like,
really
I wish you didn't have that. I think jealousy is more like, I wish that was me, not you.
And it can rob us of relationships, jealousy. Like, so sometimes when we can't confront the thing in ourselves, we'd rather eradicate that person.
Yes.
So let's make them a really bad person who doesn't deserve it. And I don't like what they're saying.
Yeah.
I'm going to erase them from my life or whatever it is, because my own sense of self is compromised here.
Yeah.
So I think jealousy, I heard actually on the opposite of that, I heard this gorgeous story. I went to see Air. Have you seen it yet? The
See
story,
what?
the Air.
No,
at
I
the
haven't.
cinema.
No, I want to.
Anyway, and I was talking to someone about it, and I said, look, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck so amazing together. And they told me this little story, which was when they were both in Hollywood starting out, like just no money, like trying to survive, they shared a bank account.
Oh, wow.
So when one of them won a job, the other one could eat. And I thought there was something so beautiful in that exchange, which is something about our allies. And, you know, sometimes we're much better to bring the people or the thing that causes us pain closer.
Yeah.
Like, can I talk to you about this thing, which is I'm finding it so hard that you're doing so well. And I don't want you not to do well, but it's really, and there's something about creating intimacy in that. And also,
because no one does that, right?
Not
no
really.
One's gonna
We
do
just
that.
tend to go, well, I'm not coming to that baby shower, or I'm not going to come to that party engagement because that's causing me, because I don't have that. Whereas going, can I just say, I want to be there for you, but I'm dying inside here.
Yeah.
There's something about that I think would help us all in terms of our mental health and how we address this idea of all of us unitedly don't always know what we're doing all of the time.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly okay.
And I'd probably say like 80-90% of the time, if you were to say that to a friend, then you'd probably be shocked at what they say back. Often it's like if you admit that, like, I'm really happy for you, but it's really hard for me to watch you have this success.
Yeah.
Often they're like, oh my God.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
Come closer.
Like, come here. Like, I didn't realize you were thinking that. And last year when you it made me. And you're like, what? Oh my God.
Or can I tell you about what a struggle it's been? Like, it's not all what you see. There's also something about that. And that is intimacy, right? And that's that is the opposite of this idea of us being alone in our struggle.
Yeah.
Suddenly we're together and we're shared.
Yeah. That then. So in terms of like day-to-day feeling, this feeling of everyone else has got their shit together and I don't, what do you think people can be doing? Are there any sort of like tips you could give, or
I mean, look, there isn't any, I say this all the time, I'm such a bore, but there's no kind of quick fix for all this stuff. But I think there are a few things you can do, which is like kind of tidying up your life a bit, which might be, I'm speaking to more and more people now who don't have social media.
Yeah.
And when I ask why, they say it because it contributes to my poor mental health more than it adds to the kind of gain of it.
Yeah.
I think if you are one of those people, really get into contact with that and give yourself a break from what's kind of causing you pain.
Yeah.
The other thing to do is to speak about it, lean into people. I feel a bit lost. I feel like I'm not really sure what I'm doing right now. And it might not be, I notice when this happens for me, it often doesn't happen across all of the sectors of my life, but it might be, I'm a bit lost over here in my relationships, or work isn't feeling, they often happen in kind of silos for me, not everything. So kind of lean in to talking about it, sharing, this is how I feel. I also think there's something really beautiful about asking other people, like how we turn up with vulnerability, which might sound like, Owen, you look like you've got your shit together. Do you? And how?
Do you?
Do you, though?
Yeah.
And how? Because there's something really amazingly liberating in that.
I agree with that one. Yeah.
That feels really helpful. The other thing is to kind of take a little bit of charge over the things that you can. Lists can be really helpful. What is it? I might not be able to kind of reach that outer edge of what I think my success should look like, or I think I'm going. Yeah. But what I can do is make sure that I get up and make my bed every day.
Yeah.
That I feel good about the clothes I'm wearing, or my body, or whatever these things are that you really have power and autonomy over.
Yeah.
So I kind of think bring it close, and the kind of softer, more open you are to others and yourself, the better. What would you say? I'm sure you've got some.
I think just having that conversation with the person that, like, if it is a person-to-person thing, I had a situation recently where I didn't feel good about a few things that had happened with me and a friend, but I also work with this friend. So we work together, but we're also friends. And I viewed a few things he did as like not cool, but I didn't say anything. So it sort of like built up and festered. And then I couldn't enjoy any of his success or anything he was doing because I was like, still had this, I was like, yeah, but like, I don't understand why he did that. Like, I don't get. And so I kind of I just asked him. I didn't ask him. I just said, hey, dude, I feel like that was a bit shitty. Like, I know you might not have meant it to be, but and then, you know, what often happens when you confront someone like that is they have absolutely no idea that you're fuming about this thing, and B, they feel they're mortified that they've made you feel a certain way. So it was almost like immediately felt better about everything, him, the situation. So my tip would be just to, like, it's really difficult, but just say it. Just talk about it. Just text them or say, look, I feel like you did this, and like often it will be resolved really quickly. I in my experience.
And also, I think those challenges, you know, the ones we want to shy away from, the micro encounters we have in our life, whether it's that, these are the things that help us grow.
Yeah.
Honestly, because we come out of it going, we all survived, and I gained, actually, rather than internalizing it and kind of keeping it shut down.
Yeah.
So considering none of us really know what we're doing, and we really didn't know what we were doing today, I think we've managed to get through it, haven't we?
I mean, I don't know what I'm doing most of the time.
I'm proud of us.
I'm proud
of us.
I'm proud of us.
And next week we're going to be talking about new beginnings, aren't we?
Yeah.
On the next episode, we're going to be talking about our thoughts, feelings, and, you know, the challenges and joys of new beginnings.
Yes. So join us.
Yes.
And we'll muddle our way through that one too.
Watch us struggle. Join the struggle, people.
Yeah, join the struggle. That's the tagline.
I like it.
All right. Goodbye.
Goodbye.